BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy. Good news! Life begins at 530, episode 530 of BRB UK, that is. Welcome one and all. I'm Dan, I'm one of your hosts. Hello. We've had a fun time. I'm going to give you a little peek behind the curtains. We've literally had, me and Coleman, say hi, Coleman.
Hi.
There we go. We've literally been treated to 20 minutes of Tim attempt to assemble a microphone shock mount, work out he can't work it out, and then another 10 minutes of him disassembling it.
That's 30 minutes you've crammed into 20 minutes, but yeah.
All right, it was 10 minutes of assembling it, a moment of realising you were in over your head,
Yep.
and then 10 minutes of disassembling it. How's that? Is that closer? Is that better?
Yep.
Good, lovely. Tim,
That's about
hello.
right.
This is about right.
Yeah.
So, Tim, in your never-ending quest to only do podcast stuff on podcast days, how are you doing?
To be fair, I forgot we were recording on a Wednesday, and I got my shock mount delivered today, expecting a full day of this evening to set it up and get it going, and then no. So I tried to do it to the show because I was first at the show, so I decided to try and have a go.
Wow, look at you. Time well spent, Tim.
It was literally 1 minute past the time we usually start.
Yeah.
No, it was 2 minutes past that time, probably.
And that's because I was mic checking.
Mike Jerk, bless him. He's not even at the point of checking his mic, to be fair. To Tim, his mic check is, it's in front of me. I think that's as far as we've got.
There we go. There's
microphone technique. There we go. See, well done, you. Right.
We've gone past the point of technology to where I now have to do the mic check for Tim this side to make sure that he doesn't peak too much.
So, Tim, it's a good job, Tim, you don't use computers for a living or anything like that. That's what I said.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, you do.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So, chaps, it's been a busy week. It's been a week in video games. There's been some new demos out, which I've been quite excited about. Oh, there's been so much good Destiny stuff. I know it's not the agenda. I'm not going to speak about it very long. But if you have been playing Destiny 2 or have played Destiny 2, it's worth logging in this week. There is big story goodness.
Story,
A
you say?
thing, right, does a thing.
Is the story in the game?
A thing does a thing. And I'm right, yeah, it's in a cutscene specifically, Tim.
Oh, not on a website.
Not audio
Are you
logs
quite done?
that you can listen to in a mobile app. We're
Hey,
just
you
going
can
to
do that
rehash
too
all
if
the
you
old
want.
jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
do Ken?
Yeah, exactly right. Oh, we're quite done. Anyway.
Tiny O. What else can we throw out there?
Exactly. But so somehow Tim gets the right arse whenever I just go, oh, hey, there's cool stuff from Destiny this week for a minute. And then Tim's like, oh, can I put the fact that I pre-ordered some games and talk about all the games I've pre-ordered for VR on the agenda, but I haven't played them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there is going to be a dramatic reading of Tim's Argos receipt later on in the show.
It's not entirely true, but yeah, okay.
Or whichever store he's been to.
Other stores are available.
Lucky listeners.
PSVR 2 is out next week. You haven't allowed me to talk about it before. There was quite a lot of news today, so yeah, I think it's worth talking about.
We have.
We've spoken about PSVR plenty, and it's not even out yet.
We have spoken about it a lot. I believe I've even talked about the resolution of the panels per eye. That's how much we've talked about PSVR, Tim.
Yes.
All right. So back in your
We
cupboard.
have spoken about the PlayStation VR so much that former critics of this podcast may start listening again just to call us shills for Sony once again and accuse us of being paid
I
by
forgot
them.
they did that. Ah, man. It's been a while since we've been called shills for Microsoft, shills for Sony. I don't think we've been accused of being shills for Stadia, and I'm quite upset that we couldn't turn into shills for Stadia. That
Can
would
we
have
be
been
Nintendo shills? That sounds
We
fun.
have
Yeah,
been
if you
accused of
want.
talking too much Nintendo Switch games before as well. So we've been accused of all three. So I think that makes us good.
Are you telling me it's impossible to please everyone on the internet? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Because that's revolutionary thought. Yes. But to return balance to the force of us being Nintendo shills, apparently, none of us have actually played the new Metroid game this week. So it's meant to be quite good.
Oh, yeah.
Just a correction as well. I thought it was
Forgot
the
that came out.
trilogy. I've subsequently found out it's just the first game that's been remastered so far. But yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. we said last week. Unless you had a completely different conversation. Because last week I said that it was, it's been long rumored that a trilogy is ready to be ported and that it was going to be announced in the Nintendo Direct, the last week's one, but instead we got the single version of the game. And then since then there's been talk whether it's because of it's Retro working on Metroid Prime 4, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I heard something along the lines of that it's possible that they have been working in a new engine with this game and then realized, oh, we can actually port the original game assets to this new engine and things work much nicer. Let's do that and release them one at a time, and therefore Nintendo can make a lot of money, which apparently they are in physical sales because those things keep selling out and they're not even out yet.
It's nice price as well. That
unless you look on eBay
of Metro. Yeah, that's true. It's true. But there's been other goodies. There's the Steam Next Fest, so there's some indie goodness and out of that.
Oh yeah.
I tried out the demo for Radio the Universe.
Nice.
Which is this is a game that was originally funded via Kickstarter, and this might be a Kickstarter all-time record for video games. It was funded back in 2012 and has yet to release. So I think it has succumbed to the the very real feature creep and endless buffing and polishing that an indie game or indie game creators can do. But it's finally, it looks like, limping its way to the finish line. It's releasing at some point in 2023, not quite ready to commit to exactly when. But what a great little demo. So it's essentially a kind of a top-down, top-down kind of 16-bit-esque feel, surprise, surprise. And it feels like a very interesting blend between Zelda, Blade Runner,
I like those things.
And something that H.R. Geiger might have done.
Oh. I like those three things.
It's kind of... Yeah. But it's kind of... It's like you're wandering around... The setup is that you are some kind of android lady who you don't quite know why you're there, and it's very sparse, certainly in the demo of the exact kind of narrative, but it's like you're wandering around this old abandoned city, and I think it's just trying to work out what the civilization was there beforehand. It's got a really... I think probably in the full story, it's going to be in the full game, it'll be fleshed out a lot more, but I think it is very deliberate with how little information it gives you, and I wouldn't be surprised if much like a game like Tunic, which is obviously on the other end of the scale in a cutesy kind of way,
I
wouldn't be surprised if this is get a pen and paper out to work out exactly all of the goodness that's hidden within the game. It's got a really nice combat mechanic where each enemy has overlaid on it the number of hit points that it has, and you only get XP for killing the enemy if you precisely deal the right amount of damage to it. So if something's got 12 hit points, if you only get the XP from it to power your abilities up if you deal 12 damage exactly. So it's quite nice that it makes you think on your feet a little bit. It's very fast-paced, the action. Some people have described it as a Souls-like. I'm not quite sure I agree. I think they've just said, oh, it's a Souls-like, because if you get hit once, you're dead.
I mean, they said that about Tunic as well, that it's a Zelda Souls-like.
Yeah, I would disagree, I think.
Could just be a tough roguelike, basically, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. One, it's not rogue at all. It's all handcrafted. It's all, very, there's no procedural generation here. It is
not very Souls-like
you
at all.
Working your way through levels. Well, Souls isn't a rogue-like.
Light?
I mean...
Light?
You die, you level up.
I'm on the fence, but we'll get off this. Get off this conversation.
Get off that fence,
and we'll
Dan.
move on.
It's painful. You get splinters in your bum.
Oh, I did right in my grapes of wrath. But no, from what I've experienced in the demo, the demo is freely available on Steam now. Works exceptionally well on your Mesdic. Headphones are a necessity because the soundtrack is just phenomenal, and the atmosphere this game conjures up not only through its soundtrack but through kind of like environmental sound effects and combat is just brilliant. Demo's about 30 minutes of goodness. Recommend you take an extended toilet break and fill your boots with the game, not with your toilet break.
The Steam Next has finished now, hasn't it?
Indeed.
That's a shame. Because I was going to say a lot of the demos that are featured on that are ones that we covered in the EGX show we did last year, which is cool because a lot of those games I wishlist and went, yes, I can't wait to play this. And then immediately all these demos appeared. Like, yay, I get to play them all again, pretend that it's EGX and just sit in a smelly hall and have someone charge me like 10 quid for a pint.
Yeah. But there's lots of fun stuff announced. Some really interesting looking games.
Planet Alana's a good one.
Yes, that is an excellent game.
You get to pet the cat creature.
What else was there? Fabledom looks interesting. Darkest Dungeon 2. Yes, please. Sign me up for that.
All day.
And lots of nice looking RPG happiness. Well, words to that effect. Yeah. Go check it out. There's loads to check out, but that is one fantastic, nice, cheap, and by cheap I mean free demo. So check it out. Okay.
Tim, what did you want to talk about?
Well,
this receipt I got from Argos.
I mainly wanted to talk about PSVR 2 and just
for £34.99.
Quite a few games announced today. There was a few announced on the German PlayStation blog for some reason, and they got exclusive stuff announced for them. And yeah, there's quite an exciting just raft of news that seemed to follow on from that as well, basically. So the main one that I'm excited about there, considering that I just bought myself a flight stick testing, is the fact that the Wingman is coming to PSVR 2 and coming in the launch window, which is quite cool. And yeah, that's
what's
just
the Wingman?
It's basically a bit like Ace Combat. So it's a slightly arcadey, realistic flight sim with dogfighting and all sorts of things.
Arcadey realistic flight sim.
Yeah,
that's a mashup.
In the same vein as Ace Combat, it's not entirely a sim. It's got an arcadey kind of shoot 'em up nature to it, but it is got realistic settings and realistic planes.
Does it contain a homoerotic volleyball mini game sequence?
Not that I've seen, but that's not to say it isn't there in the full game,
Sims do.
Basically. So, yeah.
Not good fighter jet
that
media.
was a hell of an Easter egg in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I tell you. Seeing Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer on the beach, it was what a sight to behold.
But yeah, that's good news. I don't think that game's been on PlayStation before. I could be mistaken about that. I think it was just previously on Xbox and PC. So that's good news that it's coming out. Good news that it's a launch title. Especially, as I said, as I bought my HOTAS and I didn't have anything to play with it on PSVR 2 as it had been announced. But there was a selection of other games as well, ones that I'm less familiar with. Hell VR, Green Hell VR, which, I don't know much about, but looks like a survival type sim.
Survival game,
yeah. And there was a few other games that came out, and that I think they were the main ones. But yeah, in other news, and having mentioned Ace Combat's coming to PlayStation Plus Extra this month as well, so that's quite good.
I'm getting so confused with what you get and what you don't get anymore on PlayStation Plus. I'm just very deeply confused by the whole thing.
I think it's got even more confusing, and they really, really need to simplify what's going on there, because I get really confused between what's a monthly PlayStation Plus game, what's on the PlayStation Plus Premium, which got an announcement of a few cool games as well. But they've announced the PlayStation Plus Festival of Play to confuse things even more, basically. A week-long celebration where members can enjoy double discounts, compete for glory, and more. I don't know many more details on that.
Compete for glory?
Just got announced before the
show. I
love glory. Horizon Forbidden West, The Quarry, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, and Borderlands 3 is coming to the PlayStation Plus game catalogue, but I don't know what level.
Really glad I just bought Forbidden West.
The funny thing about this is, because the same thing happened with Game Pass as well. Once Borderlands 3 gets given away for free everywhere, then they go, okay, and now it's on these subscription services as well. So
yeah.
Got like 2-3 copies of this game for nothing. I'm not paying a subscription to play them as well.
And also just randomly announced just before the show as well, Walkabout Mini Golf is coming to PlayStation VR. They haven't said when, but coming soon. So that's some good news. Firewall Ultra has confirmed that they're coming out this year, but not coming out in the launch lineup. And yeah, like I don't know if you guys saw as well, there was a video put up today or yesterday, I'm not sure, but Resident Evil Village and the adaptations that they've made for that for VR. And that looks so phenomenal that I pre-ordered it. By the time you hear this podcast, it will be too late to do what I did. I'd say I pre-ordered it. I bought it, but it was on sale up until today for £17.50. So I picked that up as well because that looks good.
Was that the gold edition?
No, it doesn't come with all of the stuff. It came with Reverse, which a friend of the show, Rick, reliably informed me is a multiplayer thing that's not worth my time, so I haven't even downloaded it.
Yeah, terrible. Is it a case that you have to have the gold edition to play the VR? Like, because they made a third-person version of Resident Evil Village, third-person mode that you have to have the gold edition to play. So I don't know if the VR was also locked behind that.
I hope not, because then I'll have to upgrade it to play it. But that didn't seem to be indicated. But they may not have communicated that well.
Will the fun of Tim's shopping list ever stop or start? I don't know anymore. Please ask him another question, Coleman. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I have a follow-up question. So you bought Resident Evil Biohazard, especially to play in PlayStation VR. So how was that in PlayStation VR?
I only played the first couple of hours, basically. I'm hoping that they actually patch that for PSVR 2, because one, it will look better, and two, it will probably play better without move controllers as well. So hopeful that might be the case. But nevertheless, I got an 8. I was umming and ahhing about it. I'd been speaking to Rick about possibly borrowing his copy, but he was unable to find it. It was on sale for £17.50. I thought that was worth it for a full massive game that's got VR content. The stuff that's coming out for Gran Turismo looks phenomenal. That looks really good as well. There's been a lot more people talking about that this week. There's a few other games. I watched a preview thing for the Light Brigade, which looks quite good. So that might be on my list to pick up. The ones I've actually pre-ordered for myself, though, are Kayak VR and Demio. And I have a review copy for a game that I will be talking about next week. Or hopefully talking about next week. I hopefully will get my headset next week in time to actually play about it on the show. If not, it will be the week after. But yeah. I'll come back to that when we get to that. The launch lineup and the extended launch window lineup is looking really favourable now that it's added a few more games and got a few more strings to its bow. I haven't actually ordered, and I'm not planning on picking up Horizon Call of the Mountain, even though that's the big showcase one that everyone's going on about. I decided that for the 60 quid that costs, I could get all the games that I've pre-ordered and bought ready to play that, and I've got like Gran Turismo and No Man's Sky to mess around with as well. So I'm just going to wait until that becomes free on one of their PlayStation Plus levels, or it's significantly discounted. I might be tempted to pick it up at some point sooner than that if everyone goes absolutely mad for it, but I'm not sure I like the look of the combat, even though the rest of it looks really good. So I'm cautiously waiting on that for now, basically. But yeah, I'm getting properly excited about PSVR 2. It's looking really like a really strong lineup. The headset had a whole tear down this week and had more people getting their hands on it and stuff. And everyone is just saying how good it is. So yeah, I'm properly excited for PSVR 2. I mean,
have you been whetting your appetite with the unboxing and teardown videos that Sony have posted?
I did watch the teardown video. It was just interesting to see all the little components and how it all comes apart and how easily it might be to replace parts. And the answer is not very easy.
I would pay money to see you do that.
Yeah. Like I'm not taking my.
I would actually pay money.
I thought about
we send amazing.
Tim a solid state drive for his PlayStation 5 and then watch him try to set it up.
I am going to have to buy one at some point because that's the other thing. I've run out of disk space. I'm having to delete stuff. But yeah,
you could do it like, kind of like the MasterChef challenge where like there's a couple of rogue ingredients that aren't used. We could like send him an SSD, some gaffer tape, a goldfish bowl. Just see what happens. It'd be amazing.
Could be interesting. But yeah.
I seriously think we ought to start setting Tim some tech challenges, is what I would like to do.
Tim's
like
tech challenge.
Like build a Raspberry Pi.
Or put batteries in this remote.
Stop this VCR from blinking 12 o'clock.
Exactly. Then contemplate why you're still using a VCR like you're some kind of chump in 1997.
Yeah, or my granddad.
Yeah. Explain the difference between Betamax and VHS. Go, Tim.
With the kind of hype up to PlayStation VR and all the stuff online, and there's something that I just wanted to drag a bit of attention to, and it's something that I hate in modern games journalism with influencers and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing as when a new game's coming out, and a lot of people are excited to see what the review is, to see how it's faring before they make their purchase decision. And then all these different people on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, they go, yes, I can confirm I am covering the game, and then send you a photo of or a screenshot of the menu screen. Like, I hate this. I know it's all you're allowed to show, but I hate this. And it's the same with PlayStation VR 2. Like about a week ago, everyone just put up pictures of the box. I'm like, I don't care. Just
they were all
let
told
me know
that
when you're
that
done.
was what they could do at a certain time. But I find unboxing videos boring at the best of times, and it kind of spoils the surprise. I did end up watching them because I'm
But it's not
overly
even an
excited for
unboxing
PSVR
video.
2.
It's just a box.
Oh, well, there's that. Yeah, okay.
I hate it.
But even the
I hate
unboxing
it.
videos,
I
I
hate it
find
so
an
much.
SSD, a
little
roll
on the
of
dull
gaffer
side.
tape, and a goldfish bowl.
And the official PlayStation one was like, yeah, really? Like, she explained the thinking behind the artwork on the box. And I'm like, no, I really, no, I didn't need that, thanks. The other thing I wanted to discuss is it's quite an interesting approach from Sony, I think. There's a financial side to them.
We'll be the judge of that,
Only
Tim.
doing the pre-ordering through Sony rather than, like, allowing retailers like Amazon and Game and etc. to sell it. I think, obviously, they're gaining more money by doing that, and they're probably kind of thinking that they can gain a better, for every sale they lose from not having it in mainstream people's eyes, they gain a bit more money just by selling it directly. But I also think it controls the flow of things, and it will stop scalpers getting to the first sets of things, and then I think as they become more available,
it's wanting to control that narrative.
Yes, and I think that's a good thing. I've been crying out for them to do that a bit more, and I think that's really quite helpful and quite a good positive
I wondered
thing.
what that noise was.
But then,
why?
But I've been kind of a bit critical in the run up that Sony hasn't, and a lot. I've mentioned it a bit, but a lot of other content creators and stuff have been more heavily critical of Sony really not pushing and advertising the fact that it's out there. Because at the moment, if you're not watching other people put up PSVR 2 content, you wouldn't necessarily know it was on its way, basically. But I think it kind of makes sense to get some out there to the people that are most keen to get their hands on them. As we said, that stop the scalpers, but it also kind of just means that there's ones out there in the wild that people can see and get their hands on. And I think that they've got a way of advertising it to people through the PS5, and they are heavily pushing PS5s at the moment. The more PS5s they get out there, the more likely it is that people will pick up PSVR 2s in the future as well. So I think there's kind of a logic to that that makes sense.
There's something to be said for. I'm not saying they're doing an AMD here, but there's a little bit of scarcity as its own advertising.
Yeah.
Or it can be if it's seen to be in demand. And, that's obviously there was a period, as we all remember, during the pandemic where it was very hard to get any kind of electronic goodies. And that wasn't, cynical supply side managing. And I doubt this is with Sony. I think it's just them not wanting to overpromise and underdeliver. But, I think that scarcity will help drive interest in the product. I mean, are they doing like they did with the DualSense Edge and going to eventually be selling it through other outlets? Because I know, like, you can only order the DualSense Edge at the moment via Sony's.
I believe so, and they're obviously seeing value in them doing that. They wouldn't do that unless they thought it was a good thing. But I think the thing they've been more heavily criticised for is not having like a state of play where they go on about PSVR, not pushing it in that regard, not having like a TV campaign or anything like that. But I just don't think they need it. I think it makes more financial sense for them to push PSVR 5 at a time when they are more readily available for people, and then they can advertise to those people through the PS5 that the PSVR 2 exists.
I think one of the big problems with the launch as well is when you've got a pre-launch to what is meant to be a large commercially available VR headset. We've seen it from Samsung and Oculus and all these other companies in the past, and PlayStation with the PSVR, the original. You can go out to events, you can go out to kiosks, you can set up for the public demos and all this kind of stuff, and people might be a bit more hesitant to do stuff like this, where not just the old the old COVID, but also other germs and things that are spreading around and high catch rates going on at the moment.
So I think that's a harder sell.
There's another form of advertising loss there, And they did the state of play not long ago where they didn't do a whole thing on PSVR, but they went, here's everything that's launching that we can confirm right now. They've done follow-up videos and stuff on the websites. I just think they haven't got a state of play planned at the minute, but you'll probably see more of each time a state of play comes out, sections dedicated to PSVR.
Yes.
And with the whole them controlling what stock goes out and limit one per customer, do it through their own website and stock tracking to IDs and all that kind of stuff, you ensure that there is stock available to go out once the launch has happened. And it's not likely to be a huge launch item because it costs more than the console.
Well, there was this weird thing where I can't remember who it was, Kotaku or The Verge or someone in America put out a report saying that Sony were
Joe Biden
downscaling the amount of PSVR headsets they were producing. There was some confusion about
PlayStation came out and said that's arse.
That's not true. They're still making 2 million headsets. And then someone said, well, they might just not be distributing them to other people as quickly. And I'm like, yeah, but they're selling them all directly. So that doesn't make any sense at the moment. That doesn't. I mean, doesn't seem
2 million sounds like a lot. And it is a lot. But once you start dividing them up between all of the markets that PlayStation's available in, that 2 million doesn't actually go very far. I mean,
it's a high price item. There's no denying that. But 2 million of them sounds plausible when they sold 5 million PSVR 1s. Now there's less PS5s in the wild at the moment, and that's why it probably makes sense to get the PSVR 2 out to the hardcore PSVR audience first and foremost, and then follow up with other things to make other people aware that it exists. But as I said, people have been critical of that approach. I don't necessarily think that it's the wrong approach, although I was a bit critical of myself previously. I kind of now see their thinking behind it, and I think that's probably not an unsensible way to go about it at the moment.
I mean, I think the bigger thing is that, I mean, I think the economic reality for many people at the moment is that this is, as Com's alluded to, this is a really high ticket item that is very much firmly in the nice to have realm of things. I mean, if you've already dropped 400 quid on a PS5, and then is it 600 quid, not 550, 600 quid?
£530, £529 and 99 pence to be precise.
And how much is it with the game?
The bigger pack comes with the slightly more expensive pack comes with Call of the Mountain in it as well, basically. So just on its own, the headset with the controllers and the headphones and everything else that comes in it is $529.
But how much is the bigger pack?
That's not the full 60 quid more. I think it's more like 40 quid more, 40, 50.
Oh, what a steal. I'll order 10. Oh, no, wait, I can't. I'm limited to one per customer.
I am not denying that it's a high price item, but it's not.
Get the Identotron.
The point I'm making is it's not that much more expensive than the PlayStation.
Bargain.
And arguably comes with a bit more with it, possibly, because you get both of the controllers and you get a set of headphones in there as well. So
hang on, you only get one controller in the bait. What?
No, you get the 2 controllate that you need to operate
2 controllers, but a controller.
Yeah.
All right, just to be clear, what you do get, you get a pair of controllers. So it's $529 for the VR2, $569.99 for the bundle, and that's got you can overcome fearsome machines. You'll be pleased to hear in that.
But I decided to not get that.
I do like
and get the charging
machines.
cradle thing with it, which I think was another 30 quid or so. And as I said, I'll leave getting Call of the Mountain for now because,
Should we talk about some news?
Yes.
Shall we? You've definitely not got any games you want to speak about?
No, we'll talk about the news.
Good.
It's gone for half an hour now.
Okay,
so topics. And these are relatively quick topics to get through this week, I think, because first one, the world-renowned video game bad guys, Ubisoft, they can't update The Division 2. And the reason being
what?
I know, Division 2 was
making
on its
Bungie
way
look
out.
competent. Good on you.
I know. Division 2 was on its way out, and then Ubisoft decided that they were going to keep supporting it, go back to the seasonal model. They were getting ready to launch Season 11, Reign of Fire, which was meant to come out on the 7th of February.
Toasty.
And
Dragons.
unfortunately, they set up their pre-install updates and then had to regretfully inform players on Twitter that because of the pre-install update, they've not been able to send out the new update for the season. So there's an update ready to go, but they can't launch it.
So just to be clear, they haven't bricked the copies of the game that people are playing. People can still connect to the Division 2 servers. They can still play the game.
Yes, you can
but
go
what
play
they've
right now
managed
if you
to do,
wanted to.
somehow someone at Ubisoft has managed to break the apparatus that builds the game. So that's where they feed it the assets, they feed it the code, they feed it all of the good stuff. That has broken. Someone has lost something that is very important in that somewhere. And just from a kind of like a DevOps point of view, I'm struggling to understand how.
Oh, Ubisoft.
Just how. This is pretty. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Bungo and Destiny are perfect. They ain't. But this is major own goal time. To the extent where they're actually going to be having to kind of make right moves for people who were on the edge of their seats and couldn't possibly live their life until Division 2 Season 11 landed. So they're going to be looking to make good. I don't quite know how they're going to do it. Either, giving
It'll be like a free items. Gun skin or something.
Absolutely. So that's pretty epic. So I have to say, someone's probably got a very sweaty bum. When you've done something very, very wrong, and and you've just done it, and you can't undo it, and you kind of get that slightly sweaty bum. That's kind of presumably what I'd imagine someone in Ubisoft is feeling right at the moment.
Oh.
Sweaty bum time.
Can't catch a break, can they, eh?
Yeah.
No, they can't. Moving on, all right. We'll move on.
Would you like some good news, depending on your definition of good news?
Are EA Sports working on a new deal with the Premier League?
They are. Well-renowned video game bad guys. EA. No, everyone's a bad guy this week. EA Sports, you may remember, they make that game, those FIFA games that come out every year and have done.
Not anymore, they don't, Sunshine.
Nope. Yeah, they've decided to, cut the license with FIFA a while ago, and last year was the last version of FIFA that came out, and it's meant to be called like EA Football Club Sunday Kickabout or something going forward.
So what were they playing that FIFA? What were they playing that FIFA? What were they playing that FIFA? FIFA, yeah. What were they playing?
Very droll.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I like that.
You see, because it's a little play on words, Coleman. No, too rubbish a joke.
I was seeing if there's a rim shot. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Off the crossbar.
Try the veal.
Situator.
Back of the net.
said like a true pro there. Back of the net.
But you will be pleased to know that the EA Sports are still agreeing to it looks like they're about to seal a new 6-year deal with English Premier League, which is going to be worth some £488 million.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of cash money.
Reported on Sky Sports News, they said that the clubs have been briefed on the deal last Friday, and it's expected to bring in more than £80 million annually in return. EA will retain the rights to some of the most popular teams in the world, including Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool.
Now, are we gonna? Because I've got distinct memories back in the 90s of like different distinct memories. I know it's amazing. Distinct memories. I almost said the wrong vowel there. I'm glad I didn't.
Not sure where you're going, but okay.
Distinct memories.
Distinct memories.
Okay.
Distinct memories.
I have
this is going
transitioned.
I don't think YouTube's going to like the YouTube algorithm is going to like that as a title. For the
podcast, that's a risky flex, Coleman. It's a risky flex. I can remember. Are we going to find ourselves back in a world where like different football game franchises have rights to different names, and we're just going to see like a weird mismatch of pretend names with the real names, and it's just going to slightly break the experience? Do you think?
Like, there's some questions that haven't been answered by the information that we've been given so far on this. Like, one of the things that came out that someone talked about, and I don't know if this is unsubstantiated or whatever, but someone said that the deal was one of the deciding factors in English teams not leaving and going to the new formation of the new Super League, which is kind of gathering pace in across European clubs at the moment. Like, I can't see how that's a factor, though. If they were only told about this on Friday, like, one of those things can't be true, because otherwise, like, they only just found out about it and it couldn't have informed their decisions previously, or they didn't just find out about it and it's been more officially announced to them, possibly, but they were aware of it. I don't know. But there's some mystery there. But then also, I just don't know how that's going to work on a practical side for the game. Because in the game, obviously, you can play in various different leagues throughout... Well, sorry, in previous FIFA games, you've been able to play in different leagues throughout the world. I can't see them just restricting this to just the Premier League, because that's too much of a step backwards from where they were before. It's always been a really bit complicated, because I had someone explain to me that was actually one of the people that went out and actually made the deals with different football clubs for getting the rights to those football clubs to put in FIFA. It's been a fractious thing for a while. You weren't able to just deal with like one league and get everyone in that league. Like, there were often cases where you had to go on a club by club basis, but it also differed from country to country depending on the football association and the rules they had in place and all that type of stuff. So it's been more complicated for a number of years. But I don't understand how they're going to... If they're paying this much money to the Premier League, this would kind of hint at the fact that they would only have the rights to the people in the Premier League. And are they then going to then reach out to other leagues for other deals? It's all a bit up in the air at the moment. We just don't know how that's going to work. And if they've only got the Premier League things, I can't see that working well with the existing FIFA audience, because, as I said, it seems like too much of a step backwards.
Just as long as they can head on down to Slough Town, pay the £5.62 and a Ginster's pasty to secure the rights, I'm going to be happy. National League South, bring it on.
I was going to say that I think that this will be more a case of this will be a press release for Premier League, and then going forward, any other leagues, they will space out different announcements to keep it in the news, keep it fresh, is what I'd assume.
Yeah.
So, but presumably that's with like the Ultimate Team stuff. They're going to have to rethink what their business model is there, because they might be massively limited on the pool of players they can generate in the back. And I'm not saying that I endorse it as a business model. Well, from a business point of view, it makes a lot of money. From a moral point of view, I'm not entirely sold on it,
and that's why we haven't covered FIFA properly for a number of years now in terms of a release and talking about it and reviewing the game. We do discuss it, but we don't. I haven't reviewed the game for the site for 5, 6, maybe more years now.
We didn't cover it last year. We didn't cover the last version that came out, but we did the one before, because that's when I started getting into football.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I kind of took the decision partially on the moral side and partially just it's a game that takes up too much of my time I am playing it. So it's probably better that I don't, in a similar way that I don't play Football Manager anymore, because that game eats life, basically. But yeah, I just don't know how this works. I reckon they'd be better off going for a Ted Lasso license myself, but maybe
they did
that's
that.
just me.
They did that. No, the last FIFA game. The last FIFA game that came out, they put Ted Lasso in there. They put Coach Beard in there. Yep. They put
nice
a couple of the other characters. I can't remember off the top of my head.
That should just be the story mode from now on. Ted Lasso, basically.
Yeah.
From there.
Roy Kemp,
absolutely.
He was in there. That was good.
Yep.
Like that.
Nice.
He's here, he's there, all that. All right. And last bit of news this week. If you're looking forward to the release of Dead Island 2, good news. It's been brought forward. Originally, it was going to come out on the 28th of April. It's now going to be out on the 21st of April.
That's 7 whole more days of stuff, Coleman, I can do in that game.
And they didn't go, hey, you have to buy an 80 quid version of the game to play it 7 days early. They just went, you can play it 7 days early.
But
That's
let's
nice.
not forget, it was originally meant to be released on February the 3rd. So
Swings and roundabouts, mate. I mean, if we're gonna start picking at it, let's not forget this was revealed for PlayStation 4 early on into the PlayStation 4's reveal.
That is an excellent point. That is an excellent point.
It was meant to have Aaron Paul and Jack Black in it.
I mean, it's only like 7 years late. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's been given to a different developer in that time.
Yeah, I kind of put Dead Island 2 in the same category as Dying Light 2, as in the. Like, by the time that came out, I thought it had come out several years before, so I just wasn't interested in it. Like, it seems to have just been, stuck in development for an overly long period of time, to the point where I had little interest to start with. I have none now, basically, but yeah.
I remember, because I think Dead Island Riptide, which was like a spin-off of Dead Island, was meant to come out to promote Dead Island 2 coming the following year. I remember demoing that on Xbox 360 at an event long time ago. I think Earl's Court still existed when I played that.
Oh, man, those are the days.
So, yeah. All right, that's all the news we got.
Splendid. So what are we going to do? We're almost like early, Coleman.
Well, we got a multitude of questions to get through this week. So if you want to do the normal, let's plug the T-shirts and the gaping chasm that used to be Tabletop Tuesday.
Yes, exactly. So make sure you buy things with my face on it by going to tpublic.com/store/BRB. That's right, my face on your body in a non-creepy way that's going to get neither of us a restraining order. You can go to tpublic.com/store/BRB and get some sweet, sweet merch. I think you should.
Merch.
So literally there was a gaping chasm preventing Tabletop Tuesday from being a Tuesday. So is said chasm fixed, Tim?
Said chasm has been filled. No longer a chasm in Stoke Newington High Street. We shall be returning next Tuesday. I've only just been informed about this, and I was out last night for Valentine's and stuff, so I haven't actually organised, sat down and worked out exactly what game we're having next week. But we will be returning for Tabletop Tuesday next week. So yeah, anyone that doesn't know, each and every week we do an event called Tabletop Tuesday at the Loading Bar in Stoke Newington. Haven't done one for a few weeks as a building collapsed and it closed the whole road. But we will be returning next week, Tuesday the 21st? Yeah, I think Tuesday the 21st of February.
Yes, Tuesday the 21st.
We shall be returning for Tabletop Tuesday. I will announce the game later in the week on the blog and meetup group. You can come join over the 2,000 members on the meetup group. And I didn't say it because I got kind of interrupted myself, but anyone doesn't know, Tabletop Tuesday, we have a different feature game every week, and you can win that feature game just by coming along and playing. If you want more details, there's more details on the top left-hand corner of bigredbarrel.com, or search for Tabletop Tuesday on meetup.com.
Once again, just to emphasize that Loading Bar itself did not sink into a hole. It was a completely different building, fell over. Yeah. It's fine now. We're okay. No one died. Everything's
safe. Fine. Gravity has been put back in its box.
Yeah, don't panic.
Isaac Newton's no longer troubling people in Stoke Newington.
Curse you, Newton! Only he didn't invent gravity. None of this would have happened. Good. Loading Bar, Tabletop Tuesday, 21st of February. Go there and play whatever game is going to be, or the featured game of gamesmanship. Sound good?
Smooth, Coleman.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this show, thank you very much for listening. Yeah, flipping weirdos. You can get in contact with us by going to bigredbarrel.com and looking at the comments section of this here episode. You can also find a link there for our Discord. We have a Facebook and a Twitter at Big Red Barrel, and we have a YouTube, Big Red Barrel TV, and there's also links available to all those things in the show notes, in the very show notes of the show you are listening to. So if you're on a podcast player on your phone, if you're on the website looking, if you're whatever way you're looking, scroll down on the description, links to all those things. And while you're visiting those, you can also ask us questions. You can give us game suggestions. You can give us feedback on the show, or make requests of things that you want to hear about. But more importantly, most importantly, it is the questions. And let's start off with the one that Tim wanted to cover last week, but we were running way long, and this looks quite in-depth. So, Richard Kirk says, I have in brackets, serious question. With
Oh,
revelations about...
we're going here, are we?
Yeah.
Yes. With revelations about Justin Roiland and the backlash against J.K. Rowling, how easily can you separate art from the artist? Are either of these different from games made by businesses with toxic culture/leadership? Who wants to go first?
Just as a little behind the scenes,
There's a surprise.
Did talking about as I refer to it, the game that shall not be named. This week, Coleman has been playing it, and we've decided to. Well, we ended up not talking about it, which was my preference. We haven't talked about it in the run up to its release. We are in a not entirely unique position, but in a different position to a lot of people that are content creators, in the fact that we are not earning money from doing this, so we don't have the need. Digital Foundry got some flack this week for deciding to talk about it, having not talked about it in the run-up to the release. But I think possibly because it's so successful that they kind of felt they've had to. And there are other places that are kind of forced into doing a review of the game and talking about it in general. I have seen a good argument this week that made me...
Forced is a strong term, I would argue.
Had their hand heavily, pushed in one direction. But I did see a good argument about this week that said in an industry where people are allowing reviews of and not really rallying against reviews of EA games and Activision Blizzard games, and there's other things you could actually add to that list as well, games, Riot and a few other things that
Ubisoft
have had
games,
bad business practices, and Ubisoft. And I think we do a reasonable job of holding people's feet to the fire when they are acting up, but I'm not sure that's necessarily something that the bigger sites can do. And I think that's one of the reasons why enthusiast press sites like ourselves have a reason for existing. Like, there are other reasons, but I think one of the things is we don't necessarily have to earn money from this, so we don't have to maintain healthy relationships with all of the PR people, so that we are a bit freer to talk about these things. I'm not saying that other people necessarily won't talk about the right way and the right approach. There are other people that do, and there's people that do a better job than us of doing that as well.
We've literally spoken about Call of Cthulhu on the show.
Yeah, exactly. So
we gave away a copy of the game.
Yes, and so there are things and stuff, but I don't necessarily think that we should never talk about them. I mean, we're discussing this question now, and I think there are important topics to come up from that. At the same time, as I said, we're in a position where we don't have to give any amplification to some of the more kind of bad sides of gaming and stuff like that, in terms of things that we don't necessarily morally agree with.
I would hasten to add, though, Tim, that it's not just about gaming. The concept of can you separate the art from the artist is a much wider thing.
Yeah.
It covers music, covers art,
Yes.
covers all kinds of, like, Pablo Picasso, bit of a misogynist, but yet his art is revered by many and considered classics. I'm
Roman
not saying
Polanski.
that I'm not saying that the author and
Kevin
her works
Spacey.
in question here are of there. I mean, there are
7 is a good film, though.
Unusual Suspects are one of my favourites, but I don't watch it anymore.
there are people whose the impact of their work is such that it almost feels like their misdemeanors have been brushed under the carpet. And if Picasso was an artist now in the world that we now live in, would his art be cancelled?
But I think
should his art be cancelled now?
There is a difference between having someone from a historical setting that had a worldview that is different to that we have now, and having someone in a modern setting doubling down on their opinion, even though they've been told it's hurting people and harming people. And we've seen examples of that in the last week in the press, and someone actually being murdered. I do think that there is a difference between divorcing the art from the artist and also allowing for differences in societal acceptances from a historical setting to a modern setting. I think there is a difference to be established between those two things. I also think when someone is told that their opinion, and this is why for me J.K. Rowling is more of a problem, is that she literally doubled down on the opinion. And also there's an argument that has been put forward that the developers on the site are the people that will suffer if people don't buy this game. The developers may have bonuses and stuff attached to how well the game reviews and how well the game sells, but they have all been paid for their work so far. J.K. Rowling is the one that will receive the residuals and the going forward more money. And not only that, but she has actually expressed at various different times, she's expressed opinions that amount to basically saying that I take the money that I earn from this as tacit approval of what I am saying. And I don't think those two things are necessarily true. And I don't think everyone that buys the products and the games necessarily backs up her opinions, but she states that she sees it as that. And I think that is a bigger problem. And that's why, as I said, I've been keen to stay away from advertising the game, basically.
That's fine. In my own opinion, and like you can side with me, you can go against me, whatever. We've got listeners on of this show that I follow on Twitter, and I see what they put up, and we talk on Discord, things like that. We have listeners that they seem to share the sentiment of, hey, if you review this game, if you talk about this game, if you say this game is good, then you're dead to me. I will unfollow you. I will stop listening to you. I will stop supporting you in whatever way. I see ones that are excited for this game. I see ones that are excited for their kids. I see ones that couldn't give a stuff either way. And I'm not just going on this game, but I play games for fun, and I try not to put I try not to put too much thought into this kind of stuff. In the same way, like I do this podcast for fun, and I want to do a product review for fun. We don't get paid to do this podcast. We don't. We don't get paid to play the games or anything like that. And the moment it becomes work without any kind of enjoyment from it is the day that I probably go, well, games aren't for me. Podcasting isn't for me.
Look,
and
my word is not law on the podcast. Just because I state a preference for it doesn't mean that we're not necessarily going to do it. And that's why I think it's important to discuss the topic at least, even if we don't necessarily discuss the game. But then let's put it to our audience. Let's see what they think.
No, that's fine. But I was trying to put that into kind of in relevance to. So, if you remember a little while ago, there was the PlayStation 5 reviews came out, and Kotaku, I think it was Kotaku, they put out their review, which wasn't so much a review, but a critique that we had yet another white president in the US, and didn't actually say whether the console itself is good. It just went on this kind of tirade, and at the end went, yeah, buy it, don't buy it, who cares? This is the problem with the state of the world. And I don't think a product review is the place to put that in. Go off and write a political pundit post or whatever you want to write. And in the same kind of way, if you're accepting a review code and you write, a whole hit piece about the creator of the game or whatever, I don't think it's a very professional look. You can write a separate blog piece and do what you want, but that's it's just my opinion. The game itself, we're not covering the game. That's all fine. I will say I am playing the game. I didn't pay for the game, but I won't give my opinions either way. If you want to know, you can private message me and find out. It's fine. But yeah, I can separate art from artist, and I know it is an absolute minefield of opinions trying to work out what's right and what's wrong at all times. And I think that the problem we have is we can't have discussions because when we try, either you're right or you're wrong in a lot of cases. And I think there is a middle ground in a lot of places, but we just can't seem to hit it because one side can shout louder than the other in a lot of cases. And in this case, it's both sides can shout louder than each other.
I mean, I think it's further complicated by like the proverbial speaker's corner being an algorithmically driven public shouting match, as you said, where it's depending on who you follow, who you listen to, you will get certain things will find their way up your feed, and others that are designed to make you engage with them for better or for worse. And I think it's just very difficult to get a balanced conversation going. And, I think there are some things that are patently wrong that should be called out. This may be one of them in your opinion, and that is your opinion. Other people may have an opinion that this is just someone expressing another side of a debate. And I'm not saying either side is right or either side is wrong. I know what I believe, and my personal belief is that people should be able to self-identify freely, and that they ought to be able to express who they are without fear of recrimination. I am, however, also a big believer in free speech. And part of free speech is that sometimes you are going to hear something that is contrary to your views.
Right, but free speech isn't free from consequences. And I think that's something that people get confused.
No,
you are free to say whatever you like.
Absolutely.
I'm also free to go, I don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't. I think I don't like you as a person because you're saying it. I think that's an equal and valid.
But then the question becomes, and I've got a feeling this might find its way on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
At what point does it become you're not allowed to voice your opinion?
Yeah, I think if it generally causes harm.
Yes.
Yeah, but I also think that it's not necessarily that you're not allowed to voice your opinion. It's just that other people are allowed to disagree with your opinion. But as you say, like the discourse becomes uncivil from both sides. There should be a better way of communicating between both sides, because you're not going to make someone agree with your opinion by attacking them as easily, so I do think there needs to be more bridges made between both sides, but at the same time I can understand people not wanting to build bridges with saying someone, well, I don't think you should have a right to exist as a person. Like, that's a much harder thing to build bridges towards, and I can understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got a lot to digest on this one, and there is a lot to be said, but it will turn into a very different kind of video game podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but in summary, it's not our place to say what is right or what is wrong. Everyone should be who they should be without fear of recrimination for who they feel they are.
Totally.
And that, I think, is something we can all agree on.
Yeah.
I think that the way in which these debates are had in public and the media in which they are conducted, I think is a profoundly flawed system.
Yeah. Not conducive to a happy outcome for anyone, basically.
Yes, not conducive to open discussion, thoughtful discussion, which I think is, where I think, not just this issue, but many other issues.
The other problem you have there is I don't think some people are interested in having an open discussion. They're just interested in shouting at people and having their opinion heard, and not really interested in having a discussion. Anyway, but the other thing is we try and keep things a bit light on the podcast, and I don't think there's any way of dipping into this without it becoming quite heavy. As I said, we'll turn it over to our audience a little bit in terms of, as you say, we don't earn a living from this, but at the same time we are in service to our audience. So if they want us to talk about the game and they want to disagree with me that I don't think we necessarily should, I think it's good that we didn't talk about it in the run-up to the release of the game, because we haven't helped it attain its massive sales, but we can't also pretend it just doesn't exist.
I think even if we did, we wouldn't help.
Exactly. We're not necessarily helping. So if you'd like Coleman to express his opinion on the show and you think I'm wrong about not talking about that, then please feel free to express your opinion to us. And if a lot of people say that, then we'll have Coleman talk about it.
The one thing I will say is that we obviously have our comments and we have our Discord.
Mm-hmm.
We all expect people to treat each other with respect and with due consideration. And I'm sure there will be many people on both sides of the debate on this one. Please do not let the red mist descend.
Yeah.
Please. We will promote thoughtful discussion, thoughtful, respectful discussion.
Yeah.
But the ban hammer will be swung if you start being a so-and-so.
Yeah.
All right?
But that's the same on any topic. So
is it inappropriate to play this for the ban hammer?
By Grabthar's hammer.
If it was... probably wouldn't do the actor who played Snape.
Oh yeah. Didn't even make that connection. Oh well. All right, moving on to something a little bit lighter. Demo coup.
Please.
Here's a nice one. We won't go too deep into this one, but he says, I have a question.
Okay.
Are you watching The Last of Us on HBO? If so, what
No.
changes to the story or world from the game are you enjoying and disliking the most? Episode 3 was so good, and I loved finally meeting Frank. However, I don't like that we're not getting much strangled dad action.
I'm not sure it's the dad who was strangled.
I don't know if that opinion has changed a bit more this week because there was a bit more action in episode 4, basically. But yeah,
and it was very close as well.
Yeah,
I would like to be watching it. However, I don't have Sky, and I will be if I do watch, it'll either be on a Blu-ray box set or it will be. I'll just buy a weekend pass to Now TV and just mainline the whole thing in one
That's
sitting.
probably a good way to do it. Coleman and I have been watching it. We kind of discussed the fact that we were going to possibly wait till the end of the series to kind of discuss it in more detail, just so we don't give away spoilers and so people are possibly at different stages with it and stuff like that. But
Fungus.
I have a complaint about episode 3, but it's not what you think it might be, so don't worry.
Okay.
It's a genuine
I have a question.
Logistical issue with episode 3, but I think it will cause spoilers, so I will say.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Has there been an episode called Fungus the Bogeyman yet?
No.
And
yes,
if not, why
that
not?
was episode 2.
Was it Fungus the Bogeyman?
No, of course
Brilliant.
not.
Why not? That would be an amazing
Blaming lunatic.
crossover. And highly relevant, bearing in mind how the bad mans came to be.
I like it, and I am not bothered about the changes.
Yeah, I think the changes. I can understand the changes for the nature of the medium that it's in. I think that makes sense. I think it was also quite good for audience members to have different bits fleshed out that have already played the games, because what's the point in just repeating the story from the games? Like, okay, there's an audience that hasn't seen that, but the core audience that really is attracted to this, I think, is going to enjoy things being fleshed out a bit more, basically, without giving away too many spoilers and stuff. But yeah,
I will say that me and my girlfriend once a week, we used to like sitting down and watching The Walking Dead, and we got right to the end of that. And even though the last few seasons haven't been so great, and it had been a bit of a slog to get through, especially those flipping lockdown episodes, the having something that's very similar to it, because it is post-apocalyptic, basically zombie TV show, but done in such a scale and is entertaining. It's nice to have that again.
I'm also, I don't know how worried we should be, but I don't know if you've seen, but Joe Rogan, among other people, has been kind of promoting the fact that you can put cordyceps into health drink type things for workouts and stuff. And I'm like, no, please don't drink these things. Like we've seen how badly that can go. Please don't consume them willingly.
That would be he's confusing mad brains with mad gains is what he's confusing right there.
Yeah.
Right, here you go. Nice quick one.
Yep.
Ed, with the day of questions being Valentine's Day, what are your favorite game couples? Shell and Companion Cube.
Aww. There's a nice heart on the Companion Cube for Valentine's Day as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Solid Snake and Otacon.
That's a good one.
Surely Solid Snake and his identical twin brother is more. Oh, that's possibly a spoiler for Metal Gear Solid, but
Marcus and Dom from Gears of War.
There we go. I just don't understand why I can't work it out.
Yeah, bromance. Tim, you got one?
I was going to say, and I can't remember who he actually ends up with in the games, but Nathan Drake and his wife, for want of a better
and
word.
Elena.
It was. Okay,
Elena.
yeah.
Which is a lovely relationship where seemingly in every game they don't like each other, get together, and then by the next game don't like each other, get together, and then goes all the way to the last. Like, there's a lot of Nathan Drake lying to his wife, basically.
What a wonderful couple.
Yeah.
Realistic.
They're lucky to have each other.
And even though we didn't see much of them together, Kratos and his wife.
Yes.
In the later games, not in the earlier ones necessarily. Because didn't he kill his first wife?
Which...
Yeah, he did a bit. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was always with her because she's bonded to his skin. Through her ashes.
Let's keep it light, shall we?
Remember?
Yeah.
His skin's like that because it's the ashes of his daughter and his dead wife. Yep.
Why did that end up in a red stripe?
Together forever. He already had the red stripe.
He drank. That's what he drank a lot of before he.
Okay, that's a sponsorship.
Mistake. Yeah.
if I remember this rightly, and this is going back a while, his brother
Right.
has the red stripe because it's a birthmark. Kratos
Right.
gets it like a tattoo in memory of his brother because his brother dies, but he didn't.
Did he kill his brother?
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I think so. In the game, I can't remember.
I mean,
Been a while.
it's the kind of thing
Not
he
in real
did
life.
You
back
remember?
then.
Is it Kratos' brother, Clive? You remember him?
Yeah. Right. Let's finish up.
Klytos.
That's all the questions we got time for.
That it. Exactly. That's
Clive
all
Toss.
of the questions. Thank you so much for listening. Do make sure to pop on over to your podcast acquiring source of choice and leave us a review. We very much do like it.
Yeah.
Because it lets us know if we're good, we're bad, and I've got a feeling this week's episode might possibly generate a review. So we shall see.
Also, we're nearly at 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a nice milestone to cross. So help us
Oh, that's
cross
nice.
that this week. Subscribe, leave a comment, like the podcast, and all that.
I do believe that's
Smash that.
Smash
bell.
that
That's-
like button.
nearly
Ring-a-ling the
enough to
ding-a-ling.
that's nearly enough to be awarded the aluminium foil YouTube plaque.
Yeah, it's
I do
taken us a
believe,
while
so.
to get there.
I think they
But
give
we've
you a,
had some steady growth over the last couple
they
of
give you
weeks.
the
like-
PDF of
yeah.
the play button.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
So make sure you head on over to www.bigredbarrel.com. Our Discord, which you'll find a link for in the show notes, facebook.com/bigredbarrel, twitter.com/bigredbarrel, and youtube.com/bigredbarreltv. All of those places you'll find us right here. And if you're already there, well, you're one step ahead, you
Well
cheeky
done,
little
you.
monkey, you.
Mm.
So, yes, that's your lot. We're going to finish the show. All that really remains is for me to remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I'm as chaotic as the ashes of your dead wife and child bonded to your skin for all eternity.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with the Chaos Kratos thing. I didn't think you were going to go with dead wife on skin thing.
Wow, Tim, not making it any better, by the way.
Tim, it's the Valentine's Day episode.
Oh,
course I'm gonna
right,
tell
okay.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I've burnt it to a
Violence
crisp
is blue.
and something. I can't make it rhyme. Roses are red, violets are blue. You're a
Killed
bit
Toss
dead.
Quaid, killed you and your mum too.
What?
We go
I don't
now,
know.
Please.
please.
Anyway, thank you very much for listening. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarrel.com.
for more podcasts?
News, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarrel.com.
Pocket horse. Oh, you're a horse.
My pocket
Horse.
horse
Riding
riding through the Hi, YouTube algorithm. Please don't sue me. Please don't sue me.